Lasher, thanks for coming to our booth. It's great to see you here. I'm a big fan of BRD.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure.
Cool. So, can you tell us why does BRD exist?
BRD exists because it was born in a time when all of the wallets, when I say wallet, I mean a way to store your own private keys. All of the wallets were really complicated, and it made it super tough to introduce new people to. At the time, it was only Bitcoin. And so our original founder created the wallet to be extremely simple, secure, and easy to use. And it just spread like wildfire because everyone used it as a tool to introduce their friends and their family to cryptocurrency. And ever since then, it's just been a crazy journey, starting from an open source project, then becoming a real company. And we did a seed round, mostly raised in Bitcoin that then appreciated like 10x, and then we did an A round, some of which was in Bitcoin, and then that went up another 2 or 3x, and then we did a token sale, unfortunately at more or less the peak of the last bubble. So those assets have come down to earth somewhat, but we think of ourselves as a viable business. We're shooting for profitability in the next 6 months, and everything is great, except that it's a bear market and people don't like losing money. But other than that, things are good.
Yeah, so we just have to hang in there, wait for the market to...
Hang in there. It's not for the weak-stomached. The roller coaster really does, when it goes down fast. It's always been that way. Hopefully it won't always be that way. I think someday we'll reach some kind of relative stability, but for now it's so nascent, it's so unpredictable, and no one really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for sure, we're going to have another bubble. It'll be fun. After that, I don't know. I can't see that far ahead.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't know if it's going to be next year or next month, right? That'd be nice to know.
I think I know what's going to cause it. I think it's going to be one of two things, maybe a combination of the two. The first is, I think that financial advisors are going to start recommending people hold crypto, like 1% of their net worth in crypto, as a piece of a properly diversified portfolio. Right now it's just the whole 60-40 stocks talk, but 10% real estate, whatever. But I really think that there will be vehicles to make it easy for retail customers to hold or have exposure to Bitcoin, and all the analysts are going to flip their tune and they're going to start saying, yeah, you should have 1%, and then it'll be 2% and 3%. That's going to create a lot of just base demand. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure in the next 2 to 3 years that sovereign nations are going to start accumulating Bitcoin. I say Bitcoin as a replacement for a cryptocurrency, so when I say that, just think could be crypto, but let's just use Bitcoin interchangeably. I think that they're going to start accumulating Bitcoin as part of their treasury funds. And I think the first country is going to be the Isle of Man. It's a small island nation, very progressive thinking when it comes to financial laws. And I think they're just going to do it. I think they're just going to start converting a portion of their tax revenue into Bitcoin and just holding it. And that'll set off a chain reaction where every country says, wait a minute, if this is a thing, then that's going to be a ton of demand, and it's going to be just a race to get the coin first.
And could the Bitcoin network handle that kind of volume right now, do you think? If all countries follow suit, after this happens.
Scalability is such an issue. It's what caused the great divorce of 2017 when it split from Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. I don't think scaling will ever be completely solved. There's always going to be trade-offs, and part of that is changing the protocol, and part of that is just using Bitcoin a little differently than maybe it was intended. But you asked specifically if countries were to start accumulating it as treasury funds, that's actually not very transactional. They can just buy once a year a big chunk of Bitcoin, and that's fine. So it can support that, no problem. Which might end up being what it is mainly for, just like gold in the vault. Boring but predictable.
So where do you see BRD in the future, where we have like this incredibly expensive Bitcoin?
I would like us to be the Google success story of crypto. And I think if you look at 1998, when Google came out with a search engine, everyone said, why do we need another search engine? We already have Alta Vista and Lycos and Yahoo. It wasn't clear why this was important, but I think what Google recognized really early is the company that owns the eyeballs and the gateway to the internet could become what Google is today. Same way, I think, with crypto, there needs to be a gateway, a source of people's attention and eyeballs, the way that they interact with all this fabulous cryptocurrency. And I think it's going to be what is now a wallet, but in the future it'll probably morph into something else. The same way that Google's not just a search engine now, BRD will be more than a wallet in the future, but we're always going to have that core, we have a very, very narrow specialization in our technology, which is helping you to secure your coins with your private keys that nobody else has access to. That includes us. So we have no access to your money when you use our app. It's always going to be that way. But as the feature set, demand for features grows, we partner with other companies to fill in this puzzle of what a full banking experience will be. And when you use those services, you'll sometimes leave the app, but it feels like it's in the app because you're integrated. And we just make a small commission on those services, and that's our revenue model.
So yeah, so BRD is I keep hearing it's the most secure wallet you can have on your phone, right? So what does it what makes it more secure than, for example, like the blockchain app that I use right now?
That's a great question. There's 4 main categories of non-custodial wallets. It's kind of a mouthful. The first is desktop wallets. The next is web wallets. So desktop wallets would be like your Exodus, your MyEther wallet. So the nice thing about that is it's really easy to work on a desktop and back things up. The downside is malware, like keyloggers, really puts you at risk. And there have been some mitigating factors that these wallets have done to make it less risky. But if someone has access to your computer, it can be troublesome. So there's a lot of vectors with that one. With web wallets, again, it's a vector issue and often just a security protocol issue where because everything is getting loaded up client side, that means for the sake of the customer, there can be mistakes. And I'll give you a story. So the original founder of BRD, formerly Bread Wallet, lost 80 Bitcoin using blockchain.info's wallet because he just didn't wait long enough for something to refresh, and then it was gone. And he had no record of the private key, and he can explain the story better than I did.
So he sent it to the wrong wallet or something?
He sent it to a wallet that he had just generated, and he had I think he had the private key right there on the screen, but something didn't cache correctly. Again, you'll have to ask him for the details. He's a real technologist.
It's very painful.
It is painful. It is painful. The next is hardware wallets. So these are your Trezors and your Ledgers. Those are pretty good, but some of them have found exploits. Exploits have been found for some of them. The challenge there is they're not just making software, they're sourcing hardware and firmware and supply chain logistics, because you got to make sure these things get to the customer untampered with. Again, I think they do a good job. It's not a bad idea to use a hardware wallet, but that's sort of the trade-off there, is that you're putting a lot of faith in a company to execute on all those multiple fronts. And there's phone wallets, and phone wallets usually get a bad rap. People are saying, why would I keep any amount more than $100 on my phone? It just doesn't feel secure.
It feels easier to hack than a nice hardware wallet.
But it's really not the case. And it's because Apple and Google have built these incredible things called the secure Enclave. That's where your private keys live, encrypted, and that's where the transactions are signed. And to this day, we're very on top of all the developments. Like anytime, they always have like a name, like Meltdown or Nosebleed or something. Anytime those announcements come out, we take a look, we make sure that it doesn't affect us. That's how we're going to run our show. So far, no funds have ever been stolen through a hack in the app. I'm sure that some funds have been stolen because maybe someone left their 12-word paper key on the top of their desk and someone found it. I don't know of any cases like this, but I just want to make sure you understand. I'm not saying no funds have ever been stolen or lost. It's that from hacking specifically, our reputation is intact, and we'd really like to keep it that way. But I think that's just the best way to think about wallets, and each have pros and cons. But I keep all my money. All my money is in 2 BRDs. One's kind of the cold storage, and the other is I just keep on my person. That's the only way I store any cryptocurrency. I don't have any paper wallets. I don't have any hardware wallets. I mean, I do, but I don't use them. So I really eat my own dog food. I believe this truthfully.
All right, thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. So.
It's been wonderful. I really appreciated it, and let's talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys do great work, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.